Authorities are urging the land transport infrastructure sector to step up heat stress management as temperatures rise with climate change. Their latest guidelines build on earlier measures for outdoor work and cover workers involved in roadworks and related activities. Here's a look at what's recommended. Now, work sites are advised to install monitoring tools such as the wet bulb globe temperature system. If live readings hit 32 degrees Celsius or higher, warnings will be signaled through amber lights or colored flags, prompting workers to take immediate heat precautions. Now, it says employers should also provide drinking water facilities with ice or cold drinks easily accessible and free. Daily water parades are also recommended. Sheltered rest areas should be close to work zones. This is to allow workers to get into the shade quickly. Other ways to help them cope with the heat include air coolers, misting fans, and loose-fitting outfits. Now, workers should also be trained in first aid for heat stress and take part in regular emergency drills. More vulnerable workers can be identified with helmet stickers or wristbands, while daily temperature checks will help to spot early signs of heat stress. The Singapore Contractors Association says heat stress management is something that needs to be addressed. It has been working with companies and authorities to spread the word, but it still notes that some contractors may worry about its impact on project timelines.
We don't hit that 36 degrees that often these days yet. But of course, I think we are preparing ourselves for that. At the end of the day, if it happens all the time, companies will probably have to react to it and put measures in place, count it into their contractual bidding price to make sure that they actually have adequate resources to provide whatever is necessary for our people.
Just how sufficient will these measures be in ensuring heat safety in the sector? To tell us more, I'm now joined by Professor Marcus Ong. He is the Senior Consultant at the Department of Emergency Medicine at Singapore General Hospital. Professor Ong, welcome to the program. So first of all, what do you make of these latest measures? Are they enough when it comes to ensuring heat safety in the sector?
Thanks, Shaida. So this is a great start. I think many of the recommendations make absolute sense. Active monitoring and early warning, putting in preventive measures in place, and the provision of early treatment and first aid. So as to your question about, what else could be done, I do think that collecting data and actually being able to understand what is happening in terms of workplace-related heat injuries will be very important moving forward. And we may have to actually look at adaptations of how we work, for example, work rest cycles, what time to actually avoid working outdoors. And also there are new innovations in treatment. For example, my research team at Singapore General Hospital has actually developed a body cooling suit, which can be used both for prevention and early treatment of heat-related injuries. So these are things to look forward to in the future.
Also, Professor Ong, land transport workers, they're not necessarily always out under the sun. They could also be working at night in tunnels or in depots where they can still be exposed to heat. So can these measures apply equally in ensuring heat resilience?
So that's a good point, Shailas. However, keep in mind that when the ambient temperature is very high, and in Singapore, we have very high humidities as well. Working in a confined space, like in a tunnel, even if you're not in the direct sun, can actually expose workers to heat stress. And so I think these measures do apply. Other industries that would have kind of similar or even more risk would be construction-related, those in marine, shipyard, and even people whose occupational kind of exposure is related to having to suit up. For example, our Singapore Civil Defence firefighters, when they need to go into a firefighting environment or hazardous materials environment, or even healthcare workers like myself, who have to wear protective equipment when we are treating patients. And so these are additional groups to consider.
As we said earlier, Professor Ong, in our story, some contractors may worry about the impact of these measures on project timelines. So How challenging do you think it will be to convince contractors to actually adopt these measures?
Well, as with any occupational safety kind of issues, prevention is definitely better than cure. And I think the man hours that we save through effective preventive measures and adaptations of how we work can actually be more sustainable and better for the workforce in the long term. One good example is what we see, for example, in the Middle East. I've been to Dubai in the shipyards, and typically they would start working only in the evening and work through the night, and they would avoid working during the hottest part of the day. So moving forward with climate impact on our weather and how this affects our workplace, these are things that we would have to consider moving forward.
What kind of measures then can workers take themselves as well to protect themselves against heat stress?
So I think education of the individuals is very important. Making sure that you are fit and well when you turn up for work. Obviously, if you are unwell, having a fever is not a good idea to work in a high heat load environment. Making sure you're adequately hydrated, wearing light, breathable clothings, and of course, having a buddy system where you can check on each other and flag out when someone is not feeling well. And finally, access to shelter, cooling, and first aid and early treatment if there is a suspected heat-related illness.
For employees themselves, Professor Ong, what sort of warning signs of heat-related distress should they watch out for, in their workers? How can they also respond quickly to safeguard their workers during extreme weather situations?
Yeah, so part of the guidelines include active monitoring of the environmental temperature as well as humidity, something we call the wet bulb globe, and being able to put in a kind of graded warning system when the heat obviously increases. I think it's also important to collect data and be able to track trends. And this is something that could be fed back to individual work sites, especially when these events are becoming more frequent. And then finally, some kind of quality and audit system, where companies can actually look into feedback from their employees and actually understand what's happening on the ground and to be able to react to it.
All right, great advice. Thank you so much, Professor Ong, for speaking with us. Professor Marcus Ong there, Senior Consultant at SGH.